Welcome to the deep dive. We've been looking at this really fascinating chapter you sent over from Reinventing Beyond Ancient Wisdom of Japan.
Right.
And what jumped out was this comparison, this potential to draw parallels between two really different times in Japanese history, both marked by huge societal change.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about the samurai leaders, right at the end of the Tokugawa Shogunate, and comparing them with the post-baby boom generation in modern Japan.
It's quite a contrast on the surface.
It is, but the common thread is leadership during these massive transformations. That's what we want to dig into.
Okay, so we'll be touching on what? Leadership styles, risk-taking.
Yep, those. And also the idea of a social mission, that generation gap dynamic, always interesting. Plus how they both search for new social structures, the challenge of innovation, dealing with outside influences.
Shared crisis, pure solidarity, even responsibility to the future. Lots to unpack.
Definitely. It's about seeing if those historical leadership lessons still resonate, in our own rapidly changing world.
So let's start with leadership in these times of transformation. For the samurai leaders, I mean, they were basically born into chaos, right? The feudal system was falling apart.
Right. Their task was huge. Dismantle the old, build a new, a modern nation. And their leadership style reflected that strong determination, decisive action.
The text mentions Sakamoto Ryoma.
Yeah, he's a prime example. Getting the Satsuma and Chushu domains enemies, basically to form an alliance. That took incredible vision and real decisiveness.
Okay, so contrast that with the post-baby boom generation. Their transformation looks different. Economic recessions, social changes, globalization hitting hard.
Totally different context.
Yeah.
And that old top-down leadership style, the kind that maybe worked during Japan's high-growth era, just doesn't fit anymore.
So what's needed instead?
Well, the text really points towards collaborative leadership. Flexibility, empathy, bringing diverse opinions together.
Yeah.
You need teamwork to tackle the complexity now.
Adaptability seems key. Technology, globalization, the pace is relentless. Leaders have to, embrace change, not just react to it.
Absolutely. And that need for a clear vision, that hasn't changed. Even amidst economic headwinds, this generation needs to show a path forward towards something sustainable.
And to make it inclusive, right? Empowering people across the board.
Yes. And empathy comes up too. Listening, understanding your team, that builds trust, which you absolutely need to get the best performance.
So even though we're comparing 19th century samurai and 21st century leaders, that core challenge guiding people through massive change, it's still there.
It really is. The samurai showed how a clear vision can unite people, even in chaos. Maybe there's a lesson there for today's leaders navigating, a pretty fragmented world.
Okay, that leads nicely into risk-taking, the samurai.
Well, the risks they took were literally life and death sometimes.
Right. Challenging the shogunate wasn't just bold, it was incredibly dangerous. But they did it for their vision of a new Japan.
Ryoma, again, with that alliance, that wasn't just talking, it was a high-stakes gamble.
Driven by conviction, yeah. That purpose-driven risk was essential for the huge changes they wanted. So what are the risks for the post-baby boomers? It's not swords and shoguns anymore.
No, it's more economic instability, job market shifts, the employment ice age, the text mentions, non-regular work. The risk, ironically, might be clinging too tightly to the old ways.
Ah, so exploring new careers, starting a business, learning new skills, that's the modern equivalent of challenging the old guard.
In a way, yeah. The text suggests that inaction, just sticking to the script, can be the riskiest move now because the world is changing so fast.
Especially with tech and globalization just accelerating everything. Guaranteed stability feels like a thing of the past.
Pretty much. So that courage to try new things, to experiment, becomes really vital for moving forward, both for individuals and, for companies too.
But it's not just about jumping off cliffs, right? The text mentions planning.
Crucial point, calculated risk-taking. You need preparation, market research if you're starting a business, financial planning for a career shift. It's not reckless, it's strategic.
And you need an environment that supports it, allows for failure even.
Exactly. A culture where trying something new isn't punished if it doesn't work out perfectly. Learning from failure is key. That's how innovation happens.
So this risk-taking spirit, just like with the samurai, it actually drives society forward.
The text makes that case strongly. The post-baby boom generation, by taking these modern risks, is actively shaping what comes next.
And that requires continuous learning, right? Using every experience, good or bad, as fuel for the next step.
Absolutely. Adaptability is the name of the game. And often taking those risks comes from a deeper sense of purpose, which brings us to social mission.
The samurai leaders definitely had that. Modernize Japan, open it up, dismantle feudalism, a huge sense of purpose, often involving personal sacrifice.
It's powerful stuff. Now, the post-baby boomers coming up after the bubble burst, they have their own sense of social responsibility. It's maybe more about new values, different work styles, trying to leave things better.
Yeah, facing the employment ice age, stagnation, they're pushing for things like diversity, environmental action, trying to adapt society.
And the text points out something important. Having that social mission lets you aim higher than just, personal gain. Like the samurai, people willing to push for something bigger can create real change.
But maybe it's a bit different today. The text hints at balancing social good with, like, mutual benefits.
Yeah, that seems right. Think about work style reforms. Better conditions for employees can also mean higher productivity for the company. It's not always pure self-sacrifice. Sometimes it's win-win.
And you see this mission in action today.
Sure. Look at the focus on environmental issues, renewable energy, recycling, or efforts to strengthen local communities. That's all part of this broader sense of mission.
And for leaders, having that kind of social purpose, it must be motivating for a team, gives direction.
Definitely. It provides that why beyond just the bottom line. It fosters commitment.
And it adds up, right? Individual actions, volunteering, corporate responsibility stuff, it contributes to society overall.
And it's crucial, the text notes, to pass this on, educating the next generation about why social mission matters.
So the samurai's powerful mission still offers lessons, and the post-baby boom generation is expected to keep pushing these new values forward.
Right, striving for that better society.
Hmm.
It shows that collective action, driven by purpose, is vital, which often involves navigating the generation gap.
Ah, yes. The samurai faced a huge gap with the old guard, the shogunate clinging to the past, and that tension actually fueled the change.
It did, and you see echoes today, right? The post-baby boomers often feel a divide with the baby boomers, who might hold on to more, let's say, traditional values or older work practices.
And that pushes the younger generation to seek out new ways of doing things.
Exactly. The text explains these gaps often come from different life experiences, different economic times. Baby boomers saw rapid growth, valued maybe diligence, company loyalty.
Whereas the post-baby boomers hit the employment ice age, stagnation,
Right.
leading to values like flexibility, diversity, work-life balance.
Precisely. And you see it in the workplace, clashes over working hours, seniority versus merit, that kind of thing.
It goes beyond work too, right? Into family life, expectations about careers, marriage.
Sure. Older generations might prioritize stability in a traditional sense, while the younger generation might value aligning their life with personal passions more, even if it looks less stable on the surface.
But the text also says this gap isn't just conflict. It can be an opportunity.
Yeah, a source of new ideas. The flexibility of the younger generation can complement the experience of the older one if they can find ways to connect.
How do you bridge that gap then?
Mutual understanding is the start. The text suggests things like cross-generational projects at work, encouraging dialogue in families and communities, just getting people talking and listening.
Education helps too, understanding different perspectives.
Definitely. Workshops, community events, sharing stories, anything that builds empathy and common ground.
So the goal is a culture that respects differences, embraces flexibility, values diversity across all generations.
That's the ideal. Just like the samurai had to overcome their gap to create change, the post-baby boomers are seen as needing to do the same, using those differences as a strength to drive society forward.
Which involves actively searching for a new social structure.
Right. The samurai undertook this massive shift from feudalism to a modern state equality, national unity, a whole new framework.
And the post-baby boomers, their restructuring is maybe more focused on work and organization, moving away from lifetime employment, seniority.
Yeah, driven by those economic realities we talked about. They're pushing for flexible work, new organizational models that fit the current world, not the old one.
And diversity and flexibility are key to these new structures.
Absolutely. Remote work, flex time, merit-based systems. It's about accommodating different needs and valuing different contributions.
Technology must play a huge role here.
Indispensable, the text argues. Digital tools improve efficiency, sure, but they also enable collaboration, information sharing, new ways of working together entirely. Think AI, data analytics.
And it requires a culture shift too. More autonomy, less top-down control.
Yes. Respecting individual growth, fostering bottom-up collaboration instead of just waiting for orders from the top.
The text also mentions local and global perspectives being important.
Right. Strengthening local ties while also having that international outlook. It builds resilience and competitiveness.
And again, education comes up, getting everyone adaptable, open to new ways, encouraging older generations to collaborate in these new structures.
It's all connected. So, like the samurai breaking from feudalism, the post-baby boomers are seen as playing this key role in shaping what's next, using diversity, tech, flexibility to build something sustainable.
Which inevitably involves the challenge of innovation.
Always. The samurai were innovators. They embraced Western tech and ideas to modernize Japan, leading to the Meiji Restoration. They weren't afraid to break the mold.
And the post-baby boomers are innovating too, but maybe more with digital tech, new business models, adapting to their own era's challenges.
Exactly. The text stresses that innovation needs both flexibility, being open to change, and that willingness to take risks we discussed. The samurai adapted Western ideas. They didn't just copy them.
What are the big innovation challenges now? Digital transformation, AI.
Those are huge, yeah. They're changing everything about work and business. So you need that constant culture of innovation just to keep up, let alone lead.
And that environment where failure is okay is critical here too.
Absolutely. Look at startups. Trial and error is how they grow. You need that space to experiment, learn, and try again.
Diversity helps innovation too, right? Different perspectives.
Key factor, the text says. Diverse teams bring more ideas, challenge assumptions. Collaboration across different backgrounds sparks creativity.
And education, reskilling, making sure people can adapt to the new tools and ways of thinking.
Foundational. You need people equipped to use the new tech and contribute to the innovation process.
So innovation isn't just a business buzzword, it's tied to society's sustainable development, just like it was for the samurai driving modernization.
That's the connection the text makes. By flexibly adopting new ideas and tech, the post-baby boomers are expected to drive the transformations needed for a better future.
Which often means embracing external influence.
The samurai were masters at this, weren't they?
Yeah.
Actively learning from the West, tech, systems, ideas, but always adapting them to Japan. Strategic integration, not just copying.
And the post-baby boomers are doing something similar with global business models, work styles, adapting them to Japanese culture.
Seems so. Globalization makes it inevitable, really. And facing their own challenges, they're looking outward for ideas, adapting flexible work arrangements or new business approaches that have worked elsewhere.
So being open to outside ideas is crucial for progress.
Essential, the text argues. How else do you respond to global changes? Think about Silicon Valley's influence on startups, or adopting AI and blockchain tech developed elsewhere.
But it's not just imitation. Understanding the cultural context is key.
Vital. You can't just plug and play ideas from, say, Scandinavia about work-life balance without adapting them carefully to Japan's own context. It needs thoughtful integration.
So you need an open mindset, opportunities to learn from outside experts.
Right. Both individuals and organizations need to be receptive, willing to explore and experiment.
And ultimately, this helps competitiveness and sustainable development.
Just like it did for the samurai. It's about enhancing Japan's position by learning from the world.
But also connecting it back home, creating something new by blending external ideas with Japan's own strength.
Exactly. It's not just taking things in, it's about creating new, unique models through that blend, which sometimes requires everyone getting on the same page because of a shared sense of crisis.
The samurai certainly faced crises, foreign pressure, internal conflict, and that shared danger pushed them to act together, dismantle the old system.
That collective will, forged in crisis, was incredibly powerful. And today, the post-baby boomers share this sense of, maybe unease is the word, but economic instability, social uncertainty.
After the employment ice age, the long stagnation, they feel a need for transformation.
Yeah, there's a shared sense that things need to change to address these big challenges.
And that shared feeling is what can unify action. Like a company facing tough times, everyone pulls together.
Exactly. It aligns people towards a common goal. But first, you have to accurately see the problem, right? The samurai analyzed the foreign threats. Today, we need clarity on issues like the economy, climate, inequality.
Leadership is critical here, isn't it? Communicating the seriousness, offering a vision, a plan.
Absolutely vital. Leaders have to frame the crisis, show the way through it, and demonstrate their own commitment. That builds trust and motivates action.
And lots of clear, honest communication is needed.
Constant communication, yeah.
Yeah.
Making sure everyone understands the stakes so that collective energy can be focused.
But it can be hard to get everyone feeling the same crisis, especially across generations with different values.
That's a real challenge to the text notes. Finding those common goals despite different perspectives is key.
But if you can achieve that shared sense of crisis, It strengthens unity and can drive new values and systems, just like with the samurai.
That's the potential power of it. The energy and creativity released when people unite against a common threat can lead to real progress for everyone.
That unity often relies on a sense of solidarity among peers.
Oh, definitely. The samurai achieved so much because they built strong bonds with like-minded peers. They transcended old rivalries to work together on that huge goal of modernizing Japan. Peer solidarity was crucial.
And the post-baby boomers rely on that too, facing shared challenges like the employment ice age, finding support and strength in each other.
Very much so. That shared experience creates a bond, provides psychological support, and boosts their collective ability to act, to explore new ways forward together.
It helps generate new ideas too, right? When diverse people with shared goals come together.
Absolutely. Solidarity provides the trust needed for different perspectives to meet constructively and spark innovation.
And it's especially critical in times of crisis, like we just discussed, echoing the samurai again.
Right. When things get tough, knowing your peers have your back, that you're all pulling together, makes a huge difference.
How do you build that solidarity, trust, communication?
Those are foundational. Establishing trust, having open dialogue where people feel safe sharing ideas and concerns, that's how you build strong bonds.
Training programs can help. Team building.
The text suggests they can be effective, yeah. Activities that require collaboration, shared problem solving, and celebrating collective successes reinforces the value of working together.
And this solidarity isn't just within a company, it strengthens society overall. Through community action, maybe.
Exactly. It extends outwards. Think local initiatives, even international collaborations built on shared purpose and mutual support.
So just as the samurai ushered in a new era through their solidarity, the post-baby boomers are expected to shape the future through their camaraderie and collective action.
That's the hope expressed, that their shared experiences and bonds will help them build that sustainable society together, which links to our final point, a sense of responsibility toward future generations.
The samurai seemed acutely aware that their actions were shaping Japan's future. That drove their mission, even at great personal cost.
That long-term perspective was key. They weren't just solving immediate problems, they were building for posterity.
And the post-baby boomers, despite their own economic uncertainties, they're also conscious of how their choices impact what comes next, aiming for sustainability.
There's definitely that awareness, that strong sense of needing to leave a better world, or at least not a worse one, for the next generation.
And this responsibility is essential for societal sustainability, like dealing with environmental issues.
Prime example, the text says. Our actions on climate, resources, biodiversity, they directly shape the future. The engagement we see on these issues reflects that sense of responsibility.
It extends to education too, right? Preserving culture, passing on knowledge.
Absolutely. Ensuring future generations have the tools and wisdom they need to thrive. The post-baby boomers play a role in mentoring and guiding those coming after them.
And economic stability, pensions, healthcare, that's part of it too, ensuring those systems are sustainable.
Huge part of it. It requires proactive, sometimes tough choices now to ensure security for the future. There's an awareness of needing to create a society where the next generation can feel secure.
Fulfilling this takes understanding the present accurately and acting proactively. Collaboration is needed.
Yes, across groups, across generations. You need to anticipate future challenges and work together now to build resilience.
And education and awareness campaigns help foster this sense of responsibility.
Vital. Communicating why long-term thinking matters, sharing stories of positive impact. It inspires people to take that responsibility seriously.
So just like the samurai acted with future generations in mind, the post-baby boomers are expected to do the same, taking steps now for a sustainable future.
That's the concluding thought from the text. Fulfilling that responsibility to leave a better society for those who follow.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, it's really striking how many parallels you can draw between these samurai leaders and the post-baby boom generation. Themes of transformation, risk, mission, generation gaps, innovation, responsibility, they just keep echoing.
They really do.
Yeah.
It just highlights how important it is to look at historical examples, not as exact blueprints, but for insights into navigating our own challenges today.
It really makes you think. So maybe the final question for you, our listener, is this. How can these insights, this comparison between feudal Japan's end and our modern era, how can they inform your own view of leadership and change today? What strategies, what mindsets from the past might still hold power now?
Yeah, understanding these big historical shifts definitely gives you a richer lens for looking at the present and maybe for helping to shape a better future. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.